So I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to share a little bit of my Rotary story and to give you a little bit of an update on the CART Fund. As Don mentioned earlier, CART, Coins for Alzheimer's Research Trust, is I'm the new executive director of that organization, started in May. It's a part-time job. It's supposed to be 10 hours a week. I'm not sure how that's going just yet, but we're working on that. But I don't mind it at all. For those of you who don't know or haven't heard my story before, I have a personal contact with Alzheimer's, as most everyone does. You know, I find that when I travel, I can't really go anywhere that someone hasn't been touched by this disease. But my mother had Alzheimer's, and she suffered from it for many, many years. And I remember watching her deteriorate and watching her start to lose important memories. And I remember the day that she looked at me and said, "Wouldn't you rather be spending the day with your mother or your family? Why are you hanging out with me instead?" And it was like a knife to my gut, quite honestly. And then there was also, though, that one day that she looked at me and said, "What grade are you in high school?" And I thought, I look pretty young today. This is, you got to take those small wins wherever you can find them. And so I'm honored to have this opportunity to share a little bit of my Rotary story. As Don mentioned, I get to travel around the world, honestly, to talk about Rotary. And that term that he used earlier, Rotary geek, I love that term. I don't even remember who first gave it to me many years ago. But I want to share with you that many of you are Rotary geeks as well, because quite honestly, the definition of a geek is a person who is passionate about something of which they have some knowledge. And I know there are a lot of you in this room that are passionate about giving back through this organization, and you've learned a lot over the years. And so I think that I'm amongst a room of fellow Rotary geeks. So that's always exciting to be here and share a little bit of my story with you. CART Fund has 3 social media accounts. So I encourage you, if you aren't doing it already, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's lots of great information on there. But today we're going to talk a little bit about the power of one, because I started thinking about how I could share some updates with you about CART, and I gave each of you a little die on your table. There's some dice. I saw some of you playing with them earlier, and that was a lot of fun. But I want everybody to grab one. You can take it with you when you leave today if you would like. It's one of my little gifts to you. There's also gold coin chocolates on the table. Please take those home so that Regina and Don and I don't have them tonight for dessert. But I love this quote. It says, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." This quote by Gandhi, to me, really epitomizes what Rotarians are all about. We are people of action. We are doing service all over the world, and we do it for no other reason except that it makes us happy, and we're able to make someone else's life a little bit better. So I just wanted to share that quote with you. I just think it's a great one to keep in mind as we go through. So in my club in Hendersonville, North Carolina, and even in my district, and now for some reason even around our zones, the 4 most dreaded words are when Tiffany Ervin says, "I have an idea." People get really nervous for some reason. But I love the fact that you can take an idea and you can run with it, and you can try something new and find out if it works or not. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But when I think about ideas, and I have some crazy ones sometimes, but I'm most impressed by the man on your left. Y'all know who that is, right? Who is that? Paul Harris, exactly. So if Paul Harris hadn't had this crazy idea to gather 4 or 5 of his friends at lunch and rotate to different offices every week, then today we wouldn't have this organization of 1.4 million people around the world who are creating lasting change. So sometimes one person can have a crazy idea, and look what it can turn into. And I'm very fortunate, I think we all are, to be a part of this organization because of the power of that one man. The gentleman you see on the right is the late Roger Ackerman and his wife, Deanie. He is from a Rotary Club in Sumter, South Carolina, and he founded the CART Fund back in 1995. His mother-in-law had Alzheimer's, and he had watched her deteriorate, watched her pass away, and he started thinking, what can we do? What can we as Rotarians do? So he had this crazy idea that if he put these buckets in the center of his table every week at Rotary and asked his friends and fellow Rotarians to throw their spare change into a bucket, perhaps, just maybe, somehow, someday, we could find a cure for Alzheimer's. Here we are, some 20 plus years later, And thanks to people just like you in this room who throw your money in that bucket, thank you very much, we've given away more than $11 million in research grants to help find a cure for this dreaded disease. We have a long way to go, but just imagine what would have happened had it not been for one man who had this crazy idea that spare change could create lasting change. And so I'm very honored that I get the chance to work for this organization. To this day, we still live by the same premise that Roger Ackerman wanted when he founded this organization, and that is that 100% of every dollar you put in these buckets and that you donate to CART continues to go to research. That's something that's unheard of in the nonprofit world. We actually started a separate 501c3, a supporting organization, back in 2018 to allow us to accept funds from folks who wanted to help with administrative and program costs. So we have something called Track Support, which is CART spelled backwards, and we are able to use money from investments to pay for our operating expenses so that we can continue to honestly live by that mission that Roger Ackerman wanted of 100% of all of our donations continuing to go to CART and to research. So when you think of the one on your die, I want you to think about the power of one person and how one person can truly make a difference, and that it's okay to have a crazy idea. And I love hearing those. So if no one in your club will listen to your crazy ideas, you just call me or email me. I'll be happy to listen to them. So for years, Rotary has allowed, Rotary clubs and districts have allowed us to put these blue buckets in the center of our tables, and that has been the way that we have traditionally raised money for CART. It is almost our signature. Like, people expect us to have those little blue buckets, and I'm excited to say that they're not going to go away. That will always be our signature. Because the thing about it is, we're not asking you to give to CART instead of something else, but just to throw your spare change in there. But over the years, lots of Rotary clubs have come up with alternative ideas or ways to raise additional funds. I'm not sure if you can see them, but some clubs give out jars or car cups that they keep either in their car or maybe on their nightstand, and they throw their spare change in that. And then once a quarter, they have a coin drop. So everybody brings in their jars or their cups, and it's a great visual of dumping all of that money, some bills as well, into the big bucket at one time. Some clubs, when they have special events or fundraisers, they save all their aluminum cans and they recycle those and give that money to CART. We have businesses all over the East Coast who take those little clear acrylic boxes and put them out for the general population to donate to CART, which is always nice as well. There are clubs that recognize individuals who give. There's all kinds of ideas of ways. So a few years ago, I said to my club, I have an idea. I'd like to do a special fundraiser for CART, because many clubs were starting to do that. And in our district, we have a competition, because everybody likes a competition, to see which club could raise the most money for CART. And so everybody was doing a 5K, an 8K, a 10K, a golf tournament, a bowling tournament. So my club sponsored a 0K. It's all the fun without the run. And so I had these stickers made that say 0.0. There's one on the back of my car out in the parking lot if you want to see what it looks like. We had a band, and we had a buffet, and we sold tickets. And my fiance is a track and football coach, so he blew the starting horn and we all raced to the bar. It was a great event. So we raised a little extra money. We had some fun for CART. It was a very fun experience. And it just reminds me that it's okay to try things differently sometimes. I served for 6 years as Vice President of Public Image of this board before I took on the role of Executive Director earlier this year. So it's always been a passion of mine, and it's something I've really tried to help promote and increase our public awareness and increase our fundraising. And back in 2018, we decided that we needed maybe an additional way to raise money outside of Rotarians as well. So in 2019, we actually contracted with DACDB to create a brand new online donor portal so that folks could just go online and make a donation, the same as they do for any other nonprofit. It's called mycartfund.org. So we started working on updating this and getting it ready to roll out. We rolled it out in February of 2020. Y'all remember what happened in March of 2020, right? Don and I remember it well. We were district governors during that time. But what happened was the world shut down. There were no Rotary clubs meeting. These little blue buckets were stuck in cabinets and drawers and the trunks of people's cars and office buildings, and no one had another way to give to CART except fortunately, we had just unveiled this brand new website. So the beauty of mycartfund.org is that it's not just for Rotarians, but if you are a Rotarian, you can log in using your DACDB login, and it will track your donations back to your club, so your club gets credit, and back to your district as well. I don't know, is your club treasurer here today? Who's your club treasurer? So the best news is for you. I'm my club treasurer too. I don't know why they put me in charge of that, but the best news is that you no longer have to write a check and mail it somewhere. You can make the donation on behalf of your club using an EFT transfer. Isn't that wonderful? So there are now more than one way to give, which is our signature project, and there's technically more than 2 ways to give because you can be creative and have all kinds of ideas. But it's important for us to remember that mycartfund.org allows us to attract donations from people other than Rotarians, which I think is really important. So just a few weeks ago, we were all in Baltimore at a zone summit, and we rolled out a brand new program for CART, including a brand new imaging campaign, a new logo. You're gonna be seeing more of that coming out in the next few weeks. Technically, we are not a Rotary International partner. So our buckets technically shouldn't have the Rotary, I say technically because this is being recorded and I'm trying to be legal here, right? But we should not be using the Rotary cog as part of our logo. It is perfectly acceptable for clubs to use the cog as their club logo with the CART logo, or for districts if it's a district project. But we are unveiling a brand new CART logo, and we're very excited about that. You'll be hearing more about that in the weeks and months to come. But we also introduced a brand new recurring giving program, so that if you sign up on our donor portal for a minimum of $5 a month, you become a member of the Roger Ackerman Circle. And that's a way for us to honor our founder, Roger Ackerman. And we have a special pin, because Rotarians love pins, right? So we have a very special pin that we designed that you'll get a copy of that as well. So, all right, so one was the power of one, and two was 2 ways to give. So when we talk about the top 3 on your die, this is when I wanted to share with you a little bit about the research that's being done with the money that you donate. And every year, we take whatever amount of money has been raised through the middle of March, not through the end of the fiscal year, but the money that is in hand at the time, and that's how much we commit to giving away during that year. Because we want to make sure that we're not committing more than we have raised. And so every year in March, our scientific review panel, it is not the executive committee, it is not me looking at these applications, I promise. A scientific review panel looks at all of the applications that have come in, and they determine which of the scientists deserve to win our grants for that year. And this year, there were 3 scientists that were selected, and I want to share a little bit with you about their presentations. And this is when I really do prefer to read this information because it's a little technical and scientific. But in the top left corner, you will find Drs. Kim and Dr. Quinty, and they are from Harvard, and they received our top award this year of $300,000, which was named in memory of Roger Ackerman. And they are looking at using already approved anti-malarial drugs to defeat dangerous amyloid beta plaques, basically repurposing medications. It's an interesting concept when you think about it. It would allow for safe, proven, and inexpensive drugs to do what the recently FDA-approved drug for Alzheimer's does, but it does it at $70,000 a treatment. And so if they could find a way to use these anti-malarial drugs that would truly affect Alzheimer's patients, wouldn't that be an incredible opportunity for us? They had a breakthrough in their methodology several years ago. They use something called cell culture. They actually make human neurons in a petri dish, and that's what they use to study. They say mice are great, but mice are not humans, and there's always going to be a little bit of a difference there. So this research project actually is looking at repurposing medications. Now, the second one, the guy on the far right, is Dr. Peter Tessier, and he's from the University of Michigan. He also got $300,000 this year, and he's looking at using specific shuttles in the brain for how to get the drugs through the blood-brain barrier, the BBB, so that you get the maximum amount of drug into the brain. So he's looking at the delivery methods of specific drugs. So you see how different these 2 projects truly are. And I think that that's one of the things that I think is most unique about us. Every year, we're looking at these unique projects. These are considered seed grants. These are grants that are going to be smaller amounts. I mean, to me, $300,000 is a lot of money. But when they need data in order to continue to look for larger grants from NIH or Alzheimer's Association, this is the data that they're able to collect thanks to our seed grants that then allow them to go and get $2, $5, $20 million grants and to continue their research. So that's where the CART Fund is truly unique, and we should be very, very proud of that. The gentleman in the center is Dr. Gerald Chun from California, and he received a $250,000 grant this year. He's trying to find the origination of Alzheimer's disease, which I think is interesting. He wants to know what starts the process. He looks at nano packages that he calls EVs, extracellular vesicles, that contain biological material that travels specifically from one nerve cell to another using coded directions similar to zip codes. So basically, he's wanting to see, are there viral remnants in our body from previous viral infections? And take COVID out of the picture. Maybe it's viral meningitis, whatever else maybe you had at some point in your life. Are there remnants of those diseases still in your body that are traveling around and could help cause Alzheimer's later? So I love the fact that he's looking at that. He actually works with the brains of 16 diseased neurological brains of patients, and 6 patients' brains who died of no known neurological diseases. So he uses a lot of pathological materials. So you can see how all of our research grants this year were very different, but how they're very unique as well. And we should be very honored to be a part of this research. A lot of people ask me, so what have they found? We've been doing this for 20 years. What have they found that we've been able to fund? And a lot of people have asked that question. So back in August of this year, I started a new program. We're calling it a Lunch and Learn series, but actually we've renamed it Lunch a la Carte. And so we have one of our different researchers every month to join us on a Zoom call. It's open to anyone, Rotarians and non-Rotarians. And they actually give a presentation on the status of their research, what they've learned, what they're working on now. And they open up the last half hour for questions and answers from our attendees. So if you would like to attend any of those, there's one scheduled this month, also one already scheduled for December. Those are in DACTB. If you go to DACTB calendar, just be sure you click multi-district events and you'll see all of the CART activities in there, and we would love for you to participate. So $850,000 we gave away this year to these 3 researchers, and it's just an incredible program when you think about it. If you have missed any of those presentations, we actually record them. They're on the CART Fund YouTube channel, not only from the time that they get their award and make a presentation, but these Lunch and Learns are also on that YouTube channel, so you can watch those as well. So when we talk about the number 4, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the 4-way test, because that's what we as Rotarians live, work, and breathe by. And I don't ever want anyone to think that I'm standing here today asking you to give to CART instead of Polio Plus, because I want to be perfectly clear that polio continues to be the number 1 funding priority of Rotary International, and it must be until we finish the job. And I know many of you in this area have had Pints for Polio and all kinds of polio fundraisers recently, because we just had World Polio Day about 2 weeks ago. And that will continue to be our main focus. But here's the thing that I've learned about Rotarians. We are a generous group of people, and we can support multiple organizations without hurting one or the other. No different than your Rotary Club supports an Interact program or Habitat for Humanity or maybe a school program or digging water wells somewhere else or picking up trash or the thrift store and the nonprofits or our friends in Fort Myers who need us. We can also support helping find a research cure, helping research to find a cure for Alzheimer's. And what I've also learned is that there are a lot of people out there that come to Rotary every week and maybe don't get engaged like they should. Perhaps they haven't really found their passion, because I believe that we all have different skills and talents and passions that we bring to the table. The question is, what's missing from your table? And what can you bring to the table that someone else may not? Listen, I don't know why I'm my club treasurer. They're never going to ask me to do strategic planning. That's just too highbrow for me. They're going to ask me to do fundraisers like a 0K. They're going to ask me to talk for a living or do social media or write a press release, because that's what I'm good at. But it takes all of us to be able to do that to make our club successful. And there may be someone in this room that is passionate about finding a cure for Alzheimer's that would like to be your CART Fund chair, Or perhaps there's someone in your community that doesn't even know that Rotary is involved in Alzheimer's research. And that is an opportunity for you to attract new members and engage your current members. So I see this as a win-win for us. We can continue to support polio just as we do. Listen, I am grateful for people that are major donors to our foundation. I'm not a major donor. I probably never will be. I'm just out there trying to pay my mortgage like a lot of other people. But quite honestly, I give my $10 a month to the Rotary Foundation via Rotary Direct because it's the right thing to do, because that is our foundation. And I also support CART as well. And there are a lot of people out there just like me that can do both. I'm very grateful for people who are major donors and make major gifts. And that's one of the things I've brought to the table now with CART is looking at planned giving and talking to people who have a passion for this. My advice to you is to find your passion and make it your purpose, because we all have different skills and talents and passions, but who we are is what we do with what we have. And I hope that what we do will be remembered as being the people who eradicated a disease from the planet, who helped find a cure for Alzheimer's. I keep my pinky painted purple for Polio Plus at all times. You know why? Because people ask me why it's purple, and I get an opportunity to tell them about Rotary. I thank you for your persistence and your diligence today in getting making sure people had their pins on. And so I wear my Rotary pin every single day. Now, sometimes mine has a little glitter on it, a little sparkle. Dawn mentioned my high heels. I'm pretty much known for my 5-inch heels, but I broke my ankle back in March, and I've not been able to wear my heels as often as I could before. But sequins are my Prozac, so I like to wear a little glitter every once in a while. But I do have a Rotary pin on every single day. It makes people ask me what it's for. You never know when you might meet someone that you can sponsor in Rotary. I sponsored someone at the gas pump one day because I was wearing my Rotary pin. But I was speaking to a Rotary Club in Alaska a few years ago, and they have this big, huge fur hat. I mean, it's Alaska, that has the Rotary cog on the front, and they fine you if you're not wearing your Rotary pin that day. So they're passing this hat around. I said to the guy, I was like, that is the coolest hat. I have to have my picture made wearing that hat. He said, honey, you don't want that hat anywhere near your head, trust me. So I did not get that photo. But what happened was, during the meeting that day, they say, raise your hand if you're wearing your Rotary pin today. And 75% of the room, their hand went up. It was fabulous. And so those that didn't have their hand up, they, of course, had to pay a fine. So when I got up to speak, I thanked them. And I said, I appreciate seeing you guys wear your Rotary pins. I said, do me a favor, raise your hand again today. Raise your hand today if you're wearing your Rotary pin. Let me see you again. 75% of the room, their hands go up. They're so proud. I said, now do me a favor. Keep your hand up if you wear it every day. And their hands started coming down. And I'll ask you the same question I asked them. Are you only a Rotarian on Wednesday at noon? Or are you proud to be a Rotarian every single day? Because you know what that pin says about you? It says that you have a heart for service. It says that you live, work, and breathe by the 4-way test. It says that you're good at networking and fellowship and that you want to create lasting change. Everywhere I go, people ask me, you sponsor so many members, you do all these fundraisers, you're such a geek in Rotary, but what's your secret elevator pitch to somebody when they ask you what Rotary is? I'm gonna let y'all in on a secret. You don't need a secret. You don't need an elevator pitch. All you have to do is memorize the Rotary vision statement. It says, together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. That's what we do, folks. We create lasting change, whether it's improving our own lives by learning to balance a checkbook or to plan a fundraiser or public speaking as the president or whatever the case may be, or it's improving the lives in our community or for people around the globe that we will never meet, or young children that will never get polio because of us. For years, people have said to me, well, I don't know why we even talk about polio. We don't have it around here. We can't say that anymore, can we? We've always said that polio was only a plane ride away. And now we have proof of that. So we cannot finish until we eradicate that disease. So the 4 on your die stands for the 4-way test. Now, when I talk about Gimme 5, I'm going to give you lots of examples to choose from. Every year when we meet with our scientific review panel, we ask them, what's some good news that you can share with us that we can tell people who are helping us to support CART about the progress of this disease? And this year, our researchers, our scientific review panel, told us the exact same thing that they always tell us, which is that the best thing that you can do to continue to prevent or delay an onset of a disease like Alzheimer's is a healthy lifestyle. Now, you know, when I'm eating my bacon cheese fries for dinner, I really don't want to hear that, but they talk about not just the things that we eat, but also the things that we do. Walking a little bit farther down the parking lot, walking every day, exercising our body socially as well as mentally and physically. And so I choose every morning, I do the Wordle on my phone. Do any of you do Wordle? I love it. I thought it was going to be stupid and I didn't think I would enjoy it. But now that I have, 211 consecutive days, I think I love it now. It's a little 5-word game. It doesn't take you that long. It's free to play with the New York Times on your phone or on your app, on your computer. And I just think it's a great little thing to work your mind first thing in the morning. But there may be other things that you can do, whether it's exercise or whatever. So try to do 5 minutes more than you did last week, or perhaps you can throw $5 more in the cart bucket than you did last time, or perhaps you can increase your club's giving by 5% this year from what you did last year, or perhaps maybe there are 5 people in this room that would like to become recurring donors to CART with a minimum of $5 a month. I'm just going to ask you to give me 5. I don't know what it's going to be. You can high five me on the way out the door too. That'll be fine too. But that's what I want us to think about when we think about the 5. And then when we think about the 6 on our die, I love this quote from Dr. Seuss. It says, "Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better." It's not. And I think that quote is the epitome of Rotarians, because that's what we do. We care a whole awful lot. And we do a lot. And so we know that things are going to get a lot better because of what we do. And I thank you for that, because you're not just creating lasting change for CART and for our organization, but also for Rotary International with the projects you support here in your community, and the future leaders that you're growing and building in your community. And so I want to leave you today with 6 words that I hope will inspire you to think things differently, to look at things differently, to try new things that you've never tried before. And that is to be a voice, not an echo. We don't have to do things the way we've always done them. That's somehow the definition of insanity, right? Doing it the same way over and over and expecting different results. But instead, try something new. Be a voice, not an echo, because we all have different talents and skills and passions that we bring to the table. And I hope that you'll think about what's missing from your tables here today. I hope that when you take those dice home with you or back to your office and sit it on your desk or in your car, that you'll think about how you are creating lasting change and how you can make a difference. Because we're all in this together. And one person can't do it alone, but one person can inspire others. And you guys inspire me every single day. And the opportunities that I have to share my Rotary story, I'm grateful for that. And I hope that you will find your Rotary story and find an opportunity to share it as well. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your support for CART this year. You guys have already given over $900 this year. Woohoo! Congratulations. But I hope that you're going to increase that by at least 5%. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I thank Don and Regina for allowing me to stay with them for a few days and shuttling me all around town and helping me to meet so many of you. It's an honor and a privilege to represent you in Rotary International, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, guys.